I suggest to you that if you are facing a challenge, don't stop. Stay busy. Work your plan. Continue to do those things that you know that work for you after you have evaluated yourself in the situation. This is my day, and nothing out here is going to stop me. And you have the power to do that. You can decide that you're going to change.
Unbelievable start to this fight.
Able to a good job.
Vicious right hand. And the referee has already stopped the fight. Mamma mia. Matisse. Oh, and fires off the right hand. Jose goes down. Mora has stopped the fight. Lucas Matisse has won. Oh, they're on. He knocks him down in the flat with a beautiful right uppercut. Wow.
I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back.
We all know Fury, he just a phony, man. This is just for act. You know where I am, you know what time, you know what place. I ain't scared of nobody. I'll come in your backyard, baby, for that's my man.
Listen, anytime, any place, anywhere, I'll fight you in your backyard. Like a dumb Klitschko, I'll beat you, you bum, like a mere bum.
Gonzalez drops Lana for the lethal left hook.
He's hurt. He's hurt bad, guys.
He was rattled by that left hook by Gonzalez in round one.
Ladies and gentlemen, how's everybody doing on today? This is Jeremy Sports Network coming to you live. Hey, you guys. So the page was shut down temporarily because, I don't know, I'm assuming somebody hated, right? And so the page got shut down, and we're back. And we're back bringing you the full Gennady Golovkin film review, and I'm looking forward to it. I know you guys are looking forward to it. We've been waiting for this moment all day, and it's here now. So we're going to jump right into it. 2 days ago, we did a film review on Saul Canelo Alvarez taking on Miguel Cotto. And what we tried to see in that fight was, could Miguel Cotto do anything that Gennady Golovkin resembles that will put Canelo in a position to have to respond during this fight on September 16th? That's what we was looking for, right? And what we saw in that fight was Canelo was very flat-footed, and although he was able to get off his 2 to 3 punch combinations, we saw that Gennady really wasn't, not Gennady, but Canelo really wasn't as good in that fight like we thought he was. And it was a good fight. Canelo had a really good fight. But to me, a lot of things stood out that I had an issue with, that I had a problem with. And what I have a problem with is that Triple G, we've talked about this before. Let's talk about Canelo for a second. We talked about this before. We said this with Canelo. Canelo has never faced a true middleweight at all. Never faced a true middleweight. And with him never facing a true middleweight in Gennady Golovkin, I see it being a problem in this fight. I'm not sitting here saying that I'm picking Canelo to win or Gennady to win. I'm not saying that yet. But what I'm saying is I've seen problems in this fight. And the problems that I've seen against Canelo versus Cotto was a very flat-footed Canelo. He's very flat-footed. And then when it hit rounds 9, 10, and 11, if you think I'm playing, go back and watch the fight here on this channel. We watched the fight together. He got tired. Really tired. And it was the footwork of Cotto that was able to get Canelo tired. But Canelo was waiting for Cotto all night, that whole entire fight. Canelo was more of a defensive fighter in that fight than I've ever seen. Right? But you have a guy in Gennady who is going to be very patient. We've seen this in the fight with Jacobs, right? He's very patient, and he's going to pick and choose his shots wisely against Canelo. I hear people talking, oh, well, Gennady, I just seen this post, and shout out to James Dominguez if he's tuning in. But I hear people saying, like, hey, Gennady hasn't faced a true middleweight. No, a true fighter like Canelo. Not a true middleweight, but a true fighter like Canelo, right? I hear guys saying that. I hear them saying Gennady chin hasn't been tested. He couldn't knock out Kell Brook. You know, things like that. And what we have to understand is, in the Kell Brook fight, that fight was stopped, right? Due to the power of Triple G and what he did to Kell Brook's eye, the fight was stopped. And we don't know. That fight could have ended in a knockout. Let's be honest. Shout out to my wife. What's up, baby? But that fight could have been stopped. Let's be real. So when we move on and we talk about the power of Golovkin and Canelo's chin, who hasn't been tested at all, but we know shots can land on Canelo. We seen Floyd land shots. We seen Cotto land shots. We seen Lara land shots. We seen fighters land shots on Canelo. But what we haven't seen, a guy with power like Golovkin land shots on Canelo. And we're going to see it September 16th. So all of the hoopla about Canelo having a wonderful chin is going to be tested on September 16th. It's going to be tested with the jab of Triple G, and it's going to be tested with the power of Triple G. Now, I'm not going to hold you all night because we're going to get into this film review. And let's go ahead and jump right in to the film room and get into this fight. Now, in this fight, I'm telling you, the jab was key in this fight. We're going to watch this jab from Triple G all night, right? This whole entire fight. Him versus Daniel Jacobs. We're going to watch the jab and watch the jab be established with the patience from a guy like Triple G. Look how patient he is. Watch how he cut off the ring. And Daniel Jacobs did a very good job. I love the fact that Jacobs was able to know where he was in the ring. One thing I was looking for from Jacobs was how often did he switch from orthodox to southpaw. That's one of the main things that we looked at in this fight. And for the first few rounds, he fought orthodox. I don't think it was until after the knockdown he switched to southpaw. But you see the jab right there already landing. And those of you who are tuning in, please like and share the show. It helps with the visibility of the show. And we're studying Triple G versus Daniel Jacobs ahead of September 16th clash with Gennady Golovkin taking on Saul Canelo Alvarez for supremacy in the middleweight division. But in this fight, what we see is Gennady being very patient. And this round was a really pick 'em round, right? Both fighters trying to figure themselves out. And what you see in this fight is that Gennady was very patient. Jacobs was very patient as well. But Jacobs allowed himself to be exposed after the third round. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But you see a guy in Triple G and what it is that he does. And a problem that I had with Canelo was when we studied Canelo, Canelo can get in a rhythm of doing the same thing with his feet, right? His footwork is not the best. He's a world champion, but his footwork is not the best. And really, reason why I say that is because he's flat-footed. If you watch Canelo fight, Canelo is very flat-footed, and he tries his best, right? He tries his best to plant himself and get off his shots with a bunch of power behind them. But the thing is, if you could knock out a guy in Julio Cesar Chavez. What makes people think he's going to knock out Gennady Golovkin? It's not going to happen. Shout out to Hugo Rodriguez. He's a Team Triple G fan. But you see in the first round, fighters tried to figure themselves out, right? And that round could have went either way. But to me, I gave that round to Golovkin because he established the jab early. And that's something that's going to be landing all night in this fight. And that's what I see landing in his fight with Canelo. If you mark my words, take this down, make a note of it. September 16th, when we watch this fight, the jab from Triple G will land more than Canelo's jab. I promise you. You see Jacobs right there. He kind of switched southpaw right there. Right? So he's fighting southpaw right there. So he already switched up in the game from switching the orthodox to southpaw right there in the beginning of the second round. But with Jacobs, what you have to see is that maybe he gave it away too early, if you ask me. I think he could have waited to switch southpaw, even though this was a really good fight. But if he would have saved that in the latter rounds, that would have threw Triple G off a little bit for him to be able to get inside more. Jacobs wasn't able to get inside as much as we wanted him to in this fight because he gave his tools away very early. But from Triple G, I love the fact that he stayed patient. And in order to be the guy in Triple G, you have to be patient. And we see that right now. It's another thing that I'm looking at is Gennady's footwork as far as cutting off the ring, right? And we talk about ring generalship in this fight with Canelo. There's going to be times where Gennady is going to cut the ring off and make Canelo fight on his back foot. And we wasn't able to see Canelo fight on his back foot against Cotto. But the thing is, can he fight off his back foot? Because he's so used to fighting flat-footed and planting his feet to get off his 2 to 3 punch combinations. Will he be able to do it against a guy like Gennady, who's going to walk him down and cut the ring off? Because Gennady do a great job in cutting the ring off, and we see this right now against Jacobs. Jacobs trying to establish the jab, which he didn't throw much of. But Gennady he's going to keep himself right there in front of you. Ooh, that right hand almost landed by Gennady. But he's going to keep you right there in front of him. It's going to be hard to work angles against this guy. But if a guy like Canelo has the footwork and the ability to switch angles, oh, I love the left hand by Jacobs. But a guy in Canelo, if he has the footwork and the ability, right, then he will be able to establish movement on Gennady. He will. And the reason why I say that is because Gennady is going to cut you off no matter if you pivot left, pivot right. Whatever you do, he's going to remain right there in front of you. It's like if you learn boxing or whatever, it's a measuring stick, right? You take a stick and whichever way that person moves, you're going to be right there in front of them. Right? And Gennady does that very well by keeping you square within his shoulders in front of him the whole time. He never lets you get off in angles. And that's what I really love about a guy in Triple G. The way he cuts off the ring is phenomenal. Now in round 3, Jacobs back to orthodox. And I'm trying to figure out, the whole reasoning on each particular moment Jacobs switched from southpaw to orthodox. We know when we watch a guy in Terrence Crawford, he do it to make the adjustments, right? But it seemed as though Jacobs was doing it just to try to throw Gennady, off. And sometimes it worked. It did. But Jacobs, you see him trying to establish the jab, but he just didn't throw it enough. He allows a guy in Gennady to get in and just get off powerful punches. The left jab from Gennady. And Jacobs did not throw many feints at all in this fight, which is something that I had a problem with. And Jacobs is a good fighter. Right, you see Triple G trying to get inside of Jacobs. But for Jacobs, we hardly saw that 1-2, right? Him feint with the left hand, come over the top with the right, or feint with the right hand, come over the top with the left when he switched southpaw. There's so many things that Jacob could have done in this fight. But you do see the reasoning on why he did certain things. And we will really see it later on in the fight. But one thing with Gennady, man, like you see right here, he does a great job keeping you in front of him. And Gennady do a great job staying on his toes. But what I love from Jacobs is the fact that he knew exactly where he was in the ring. And he did not allow himself to get trapped in certain corners to where Triple G was able to get off punches on him. And we seen that early from Jacobs. Boom, you see that jab landing. And Gennady coming back with a hook to the body. But you see that left hand, that sneaky left hand of Jacobs land. Right there. Square on the face of Triple G. Jacobs was very sneaky in this fight. Very sneaky. We see Jacobs moving around the ring. Doing a great job. Victor Pepper says he's the man. Floyd Mayweather would get his ass whooped by Triple G. Come on, man. We missed the whole knockdown. But in that knockdown, we saw what happened, right? To me, I wanted to say that Jacobs was trying to put himself in position to switch, but he got caught. And you see that jab landing consistently from from Triple G. You see him coming over with the right hand. Triple G starting to feint with the left, come over to the right. But I'm loving the fact that Jacobs remained calm after that knockdown. And that's one thing that I gave Jacobs so much credit for, is the fact that he did not allow Gennady to go in for the kill because Gennady respected the power of Jacobs. And the heart of Jacobs was on display on this night. You can see it. Jacobs was very determined, and I think that helped him and that carried him throughout this fight. And he let his hands go. Jacobs was not shy to let go. He was able to throw punches to keep Gennady honest. And that's what you want to do with a guy like Gennady Golovkin. Keep him honest. You see the jab from Gennady is landing still at a consistent rate. But what you see what Gennady is trying to do, ooh, that hook got in by Gennady. But what you see is he's trying to throw the left hand, right, and come back with a hook with the right hand. You see him trying to land that shot. I seen it in the first round, the third round, and this round. I wish I could give you guys the sound, but I love the trainer of Jacobs. He kept Jacobs so calm after that knockdown. To me, that was phenomenal. That was just so phenomenal to me. If you watch this fight live, I mean, it was amazing. But you see that jab coming in over the top. Boom. He caught Jacobs right there on the chin. But I think what it was Jacobs got himself caught up on the ropes, right? And him trying to come over the top with the left hand put himself in a bad position. But Gennady trapped him, right? Because if you look at that seconds before what they gave us on a replay, you will see him switch back to southpaw. And when he did that, that put him in a position to where he was trapped on the ropes, right? And Gennady was able to try to overwhelm him at that point, and he was able to land a clean shot on Jacobs. But the switching from Jacobs, even though it was good, I just feel as though Jacobs could have picked his moments better to switch from southpaw to orthodox, or orthodox to southpaw. Either way. Wow. What I'm seeing from Jacobs is the fact that even though Gennady is landing, you know, some pretty big shots on Jacobs, but Jacobs, to me, is holding his own. He was holding his own in this fight. But you could tell he think twice, you know, when he get a corner to step up instead of stepping back, right? And allowing himself to be trapped and cut off in the corner. Instead of stepping back, he stepped forward once he reached the corner. Watch me. You see, he's going to step forward to keep himself from being trapped in that corner with Gennady. Because if Gennady got you in the trap, he's going to let off big shots. But this was a good fight. You see the right hand trying to land, but the jab from Gennady is just crazy. What I'm about to do is just sit here and see if I can pull up the CompuBox numbers. from this fight. And hold on, you guys. This is Terry Moss calling me. Hello. Oh, right. No, I didn't. back to the fight at hand. Sorry, you guys, handling business. That was Terry Moss, the boss, putting together a fight card here in Atlanta. The Underground Showdown 2, which will be coming on November 4th. And we were talking about a women's title fight that's going to be on that card. 10-round title fight. It's going to be a really good card. If you missed the Underground, the first one, go and follow Jeremy Sports Network on YouTube, and you'll be able to find all the videos of what took place from the first Underground Showdown. But back to this fight. We was talking about the heart of Jacobs, right? And you could see the heart of Jacobs in this fight carry over, especially to the 7th round. The 6th round, Jacobs did a really good job as far as landing shots. But if you could see right here, when he threw that hook, he was able to switch back to southpaw. Which was really good. But I feel as though that ref kind of stepped in a little bit too early, even though it was a shot behind the head. But Jacobs is amped right now, crunk. And like I said, this fight right here was very, very good. After Jacobs tasted that power, I mean, he was ready. But one thing is, a lot of people were saying that Gennady kind of carried Jacobs, right? People were saying this. This was after the fight. They were saying that Gennady carried Jacobs because he needed to give us a 12-round fight, right? He needed a big fight before he was able to get this fight with Canelo. That's what people were saying. And if you all think that, I mean, you could drop it down in the comments and say if you think that this fight was a I don't want to say a setup, but more so a fight that Gennady carried Jacobs in. But when you look at this fight, it doesn't look like it was that. Because to me, it doesn't look that way. You have to love the defensive ability of Gennady at this point, right? And like I said, let me find these CompuBox numbers of this fight. Because I'm telling you all, if you look at the jabs from Triple G, he landed so many jabs, more than Jacobs. But I believe Jacobs landed the more power punches. You see Jacobs trying to come over the top, right, of Gennady with the right hand. And here I had the CompuBox stats right here in front of me, right? Gennady threw in this fight a total of 615 punches, right? And he landed only 231 at a 37% landing percentage. But the jabs alone, like I was telling you, he landed 105 jabs to Jacobs' 31. That is the difference in this fight. That jab, I told you guys, it was landing all night. And he threw like 200 jabs. No, 356 jabs. So half of his punches was jabs. He threw 356 jabs, 615 total punches. Total punches. And half of his punches was jabs. So he establishes the jab. And the jab is going to land against Canelo. I promise you. Mark my words when I tell you guys this. The jab is going to land against Canelo. And he's going to be very patient and set up his shots. And Canelo, who's going to be anxious to get off his 2 to 3 punch combinations, I promise you, he's going to put himself in position to get caught with a shot by by Gennady, and it can be murder she wrote for Canelo. I'm just saying, if we're looking at the numbers here, you see Jacobs coming over the top, coming back with the hook again, followed by another right hook that kind of got in on Gennady, but Gennady's keeping his guard up. But you see him feint with the jab first and come back over the top with the right hand. But Jacobs missing with his counter on the left hand, but I'm sure he could have came back, right? He could have came back with a hook or something, uppercut that was there. But you see Jacobs throwing those hooks now. And Jacobs and his power punches, Jacobs really landed more of the power shots, right, in this fight. When we talk about power punches, Jacobs landed 144 power punches out of 371. Even though he landed at a 38%, at 38%, but Gennady was able to land 126 power punches at 48%. And that's, to me, that's the difference throughout this whole fight in general. The way that Gennady was able to land shots, right? So much so to the point to where you're like, damn, did I see 656 punches from Triple G? Did I see that many power shots land for Jacobs? Did I see that many jabs land for Triple G? And so when you look at the fight, the very first time when you watch it, you be like, damn, man, the heart of Jacobs won him this fight. But when you go back and you look at the CompuStats, you're like, okay, damn, the jabs from Golovkin were landing all night. Jacobs only threw 31 jabs to Golovkin's, 105? 105 jabs that landed out of 356. And 31 out of 170 landed for Jacobs. Nice uppercut by Gennady. But Jacobs showed a strong trend, a strong chin, even after the knockdown in the fourth. Because Gennady caught him flush with a few shots. Like we just saw that uppercut right there that caught Jacobs. Jacobs still showed chin. You see Jacobs trying to come over the top with the right hand. But Gennady does a great job. Like we saw, like the way he just crawls back inside. He crawls back inside and does not let up, right? And like I said, you see Jacobs like showing his defensive ability. But the thing is, with Jacobs putting his hands down, he's able to land a shot on on Gennady. But when Jacobs put his hands down, that puts himself in a bad position. You see why I said he had a great chin right there? Because Gennady was able to catch him flush with the uppercut. And you see the jab. Bow. Landing. That jab was landing consistently all night. And to me, that is why Gennady won this fight. My very first time, I had Jacobs winning this fight. But when I looked at the CompuStats and then I went back, sat down and watched the fight again, I was like, okay, I see why the judges gave it to Gennady. It wasn't about the whole draw of Gennady versus Canelo. It wasn't about that. Take your feelings out of it and really look at the fight as a whole, and you will see exactly the reason why it was the way it is. And Omar Taylor, you're right. Gennady never ran from Jacobs. But what you have to understand is Gennady, even though he didn't run from Jacobs, Jacobs didn't run from him either. Jacobs didn't run from him either. Jacob stood there. Look at Jacob. He fought him in the pocket. He did everything that you wanted him to do, that the trainer wanted him to do. And you can't help but be proud of the fact that Jacobs wasn't as afraid as most guys was who fought Triple G. Most guys was already defeated before they entered the ring against Triple G. But I said Jacob showed so much heart in this fight. But you see, Jacobs had to get out that corner. If you allow yourself to get stuck in the corner, like Canelo being so flat-footed, right? If Triple G is able to cut the ring off against him and trap him, I don't know if Canelo has the footwork, right, to kind of get himself out of position to where he's being cornered. Shout out to my boy Hector. What's going on, Hector? And like I said, Hector, this was a very close fight by us just looking at it. But if you go back and look at the CompuStats, you'll be like, you know what? I see why they scored it the way they scored it, right? The judges scored it the way they scored it. Oh, boy. Nice shots by Jacobs, man. That left hook by Jacobs was landing. And Canelo has a serious left hook. We saw that thing land on Cotto the other night. Hector's right. Canelo uses punches to get out of the corner, but with Triple G, it's going to be different. It is. It is going to be different. And to me, I'm just trying to figure out, like, how is he going to do it? And what we just saw right here, what I just saw was that left hook landing from Jacobs, right, on Gennady. And Canelo has a serious left hook. Nice left hand, nice right hand, but the hook was kind of to the back of the head, right? But Gennady gives you that look like, come on, man. Really? You hit me with that? Round 11 was a really good round. But I think a lot of people gave round 11 to Jacobs and round 12 to Golovkin. And some people gave round 12 to Jacobs and round 11 to Golovkin. This was a 50-50 round. You see Jacobs coming over the top with the right hand, followed by the left uppercut. But Gennady is just staying in the pocket, man. He does not let up. And Hector, do you think, based upon what we saw from Canelo when he fought Cotto, do you think Canelo is going to waver and get tired with this much pressure coming from a guy who is a bigger guy in Golovkin and who has more power to his punches than what Cotto had? Do you think that Canelo is going to get tired quickly in this fight? Nice left hand by Triple G. I think Gennady respected the power of Jacobs, though. And Jacobs really have some serious power. I think that was another reason why Gennady didn't try to, like, really go for the kill. Because he respected the power of Jacobs. So he just kept it boxing, you know? He kind of kept his same style a little bit, but he just kept it boxing with Jacobs, and he respected the power. And like I said, you're right, Hector. Triple G is just relentless, man. This round is so close to call, but you see the shots from Jacobs landing, right? I'm sorry, you guys. There we go. Got it back up for you. But this was so close, this round. And if you ask me, I believe Jacobs won this round. I'm going to just be real, because Jacobs just, you see the heart, the charisma, everything is right there from Jacobs. Everything. Now here in round 12, we're really going to see, kind of the deciding factor in this fight, because this fight was so close. I believe I remember myself saying Jacobs didn't throw enough punches in the 12th round than what we wanted him to. But we see in the beginning of the round, he's able to throw a lot of shots. And I'm looking at my notes from what I wrote when this fight first happened. Shout out to Joshua. What up, Jay? But Gennady is just like, I mean, this guy's a crazy warrior. He keeps himself in front of you. He keeps control. He remains patient. Even if you do have a little power, it's not going to make him back up, run, be a defensive fighter. No. He wants to control the pace. And Gennady's pace is, I want you to bring it. Whatever your best is, bring it. But like we said, this was a really good round. And I see Jacobs, he's letting his hands go. And it's like now he's trying to be more clever with the shots that he throws, if anything. But Gennady is just so slick, man. Hey, Jacob snuck in the left hand like real quick on Gennady, right? What a hell of a fight by those guys. Hell of a fight by Jacobs. Hector said Triple G has that next level of energy where Canelo takes breaks because of fatigue. And you're right. We saw that the other night, right? When we watched film on Canelo, what we saw the other night was Canelo. I believe it was, Hector, what was it? I'm thinking it was round 9, 10, 11, right? We kind of saw Canelo slow down, like really slow down. You could tell he was fatigued, going deep into a fight. And Cotto was just moving around the ring, right? But Cotto just didn't have you know, the power behind his punches to be able to affect the guy in Canelo. So Canelo was able to rest for about good 3 rounds, you know, to be able to catch that second win. But Golovkin, he is in such good shape that you will not have an opportunity with the way he keeps pressure on you. You will not have an opportunity if you're fatigued against this guy to be able to rest in any round with Golovkin, because he could turn it up at an instance. At an instance. And the fact that he can do that, hey, that tells me a lot right there. So maybe Canelo comes on early, right? As we're accustomed to seeing. He'll come on early with landing big shots against Gennady. But in those middle rounds, it's going to tell us a whole lot in those middle rounds on what can happen between these guys. It really can. And like I said, this fight in particular, what we wanted to see was the pressure from Gennady, right? We saw the pressure from Gennady. We seen the jab being established in this fight. So we know the jab is going to land against Canelo in this fight. Because, like I said, when we had the CompuBot stats, 6 out of 656 punches that Canelo threw, that Gennady threw, 320 something was jabs, right? So he does a great job balancing his shots. So like I said, it's going to be tough. This is going to be more so of a mind fight, right? Thinking mentally than it is these guys fighting physically. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be that. And it's going to be a really good fight. I'm looking forward to it. I know you guys are looking forward to it. And we want, unless something happens, right? We probably won't say anything else until probably weigh in. And we do post prediction, when we make our predictions on the show as far as who's going to win the fight. But what we're going to be working on next is one of my favorites, Willie Monroe Jr., good friend of his. He's going to be taking on Billy Joe Saunders, right? In a really big title fight. And this is a moment that Willie has been waiting for. Willie been waiting for this moment. He's getting his opportunity again. We know he fought Triple G on short notice. So you can't count that loss on Monroe record, if you ask me. He took that fight on short notice. He had like less than 4 weeks, 5 weeks to prepare for Triple G. Triple G had a whole training camp, right? A whole training camp. So Willie, we'll be talking about Willie versus Billy Joe Saunders. And also we'll be talking about the upcoming Underground Showdown 2, which will be a really, really, really good card coming up. Like you saw on the show, I'm sorry that I was able to leave you guys from, I think, rounds 5 through 7, I believe, because I was, taking care of business with Terry Moss, the boss. When the boss calls, when T Moss calls, you got to answer that phone. She's a very important lady, had a wonderful career. She's a she was a great fighter. Go back and look at her story. Go back and check out her story. Terry Moss, the boss. She's here in Atlanta. She's doing big things, as far as the promotional side going and bringing up these young fighters, And like I said, if you missed anything as far as the first Underground Showdown is concerned, go back to Jeremy Sports Network on YouTube and scroll till you see Underground Showdown. You will see everything from the Underground Showdown. Stuff that took place at the weigh-in, the fight night, interviews, everything from those fighters. Great fighters. Go back and check those out. But this is going to conclude our video on Gennady Golovkin taking on Saul Canelo Alvarez on September 16th. Film study was amazing. We was able to learn a few things from Gennady on what it is that he could possibly do against Canelo. And when we did our film study on Canelo, we saw some things in Canelo game, which maybe he will fix before he faced Golovkin, which put us in a really good fight. No, he did not, Anthony. He took that fight on short notice. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows he took that fight on short notice. Triple G had a full training camp before Willie took that fight with Gennady. He took the fight on short notice. Go back and look at it, man. Matter of fact, I'll post the interview with Willie when we talked about that, him having to take that fight on short notice against Triple G. In that moment, you know, him not being able to really accept that moment, it was too big for him at that time. And he admitted to that. He admitted to it. Go back, matter of fact, go back and look at his recent interview that he did when he was on BT Sports. Him and Billy Joe Saunders, when they were sitting down, when they announced the fight, they talked about that because Billy Joe Saunders brought it up. And Willie Monroe responded to what Billy Joe said. And he will tell you the full intel on how things happened, how he took that fight on short notice, how he really wasn't prepared for that moment because it was a little bit too big for him at the time. I'm just saying, man, you got to do your homework. You got to do your homework. But, you know, I ain't going to let y'all down. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give you the scoop. I only give facts. I don't give, even though I would give my opinion, I give facts, man. I give facts. So this will conclude the show. We're heading over to YouTube. We're going to be doing a live stream on YouTube. We're going to talk about boxing news and what we have coming up as far as what Anthony Joshua is going to do as far as the WBA title is concerned. Luis Ortiz and Deontay Wilder may actually be going down and going at it on November 4th. And October 14th, the big stat card that we have on October 14th in the middleweight division. You got Jared Hurd on that card. You got Charlo, you know, taking on Erickson Lubin, the Lube, right? And Erickson Lubin is a really good fighter. Like, I was able to see him fight live, and he was amazing. And also, here's Landy Lara coming back to the ring. So, head on over to YouTube. Like the page. If you want to be a part of the game, the notification game, hey, hit that bell. And I promise you, soon we go live, you'll be able to tune in. And we're going to get it rocking on YouTube. So this is Jeremy Sports Network. I'm signing out. You guys have a wonderful night. And I'll see you guys in a minute. I'm out. Peace.